There are moments in life when silence is not weakness. There are seasons when standing still is not failure. There are times when heaven itself whispers one warning into the soul of a man: do not move yet, because not every open door was opened by God. Not every invitation carries peace. Not every opportunity is a blessing. Some doors are bait, some applause is poison. Some people smile only to study your weaknesses. And somewhere, hidden beneath the excitement, beneath the flattering voices, beneath the sudden urgency, a trap waits patiently for the careless soul. The world has mastered distraction. It trains people to stare at everybody else's table while their own house collapses in darkness. It teaches comparison like religion. It breeds envy like crops in fertile soil. People no longer ask, "What is my assignment?" They ask, "Why is someone else ahead of me?" And because of this, many have abandoned purpose while chasing noise. Listen carefully. The enemy rarely destroys a person through obvious evil first. No, he begins with interruption. He begins with curiosity. He begins with emotional exhaustion. He begins by pulling your eyes away from your own field. A farmer who spends all day counting another man's harvest will eventually lose his own land. That is why wisdom sometimes sounds offensive. Wisdom says, mind your own business, not because others do not matter, but because destiny demands focus. There are battles assigned to you that no one else can fight. There are responsibilities heaven placed into your hands that cannot survive neglect. Your peace is your responsibility. Your soul is your responsibility. Your discipline is your responsibility. And while you are obsessing over who betrayed you, who surpassed you, who ignored you, who received what you wanted, your own spirit quietly starves. Be careful. The loudest traps are often decorated with urgency. Hurry. React now. Defend yourself immediately. Prove yourself. Answer them. Fight back. But mature souls understand something dangerous. Every reaction is an invitation. Some arguments exist only to drain your strength. Some relationships exist only to consume your light. Some conversations are spiritual ambushes disguised as concern. Not every battle deserves your sword. There are people who bait others emotionally because chaos is the only power they possess. They provoke, they gossip, they manipulate, they accuse, and then they wait for you to abandon your peace long enough to enter their storm. But a disciplined spirit knows when to walk away. There is enormous power in refusing to move before the right time. A lion does not leap at every sound in the grass. An eagle does not wrestle crows. And a wise soul does not explain itself to every critic standing at the gates of misunderstanding. You must learn the sacred art of restraint, because many destinies were not destroyed by weakness. They were destroyed by impatience. Impatience makes people leave places too early, trust people too quickly, speak too much, reveal too much, regret too emotionally. And afterward they stand among ruins asking, how did this happen? It happened because traps are rarely announced. The hunter never warns the prey, and there are traps specifically designed for tired people, lonely people, proud people, hungry people, people desperate to be seen, people addicted to validation. When a soul becomes desperate, discernment grows weak. That is why solitude is sometimes protection, delay is sometimes mercy. Closed doors are sometimes rescue operations arranged by heaven itself. You cried because it did not work out, but perhaps you were being pulled away from destruction. You called it rejection. God called it preservation. You called it delay. God called it protection. You called it silence. God called it preparation. There are seasons where your greatest victory will not come from conquering others. It will come from mastering yourself. Master your emotions. Master your tongue. Master your appetites. Master your attention. Because wherever attention flows, life follows. The modern world is built to scatter human focus into fragments. People wake up reaching for noise. They scroll endlessly through the lives of strangers while neglecting the condition of their own souls. And slowly, silently, they lose themselves. A distracted man is easy to trap. A wounded ego is easy to manipulate. A restless spirit is easy to deceive. But the one who learns stillness becomes dangerous. Stillness sharpens discernment. Stillness reveals motives. Stillness allows a person to hear what panic would have drowned out. And perhaps that is why so many fear silence, because silence forces truth into the room. Truth about motives, truth about habits, truth about emptiness, truth about who we really are when applause disappears. Yet this truth is necessary, for no man can heal while constantly escaping himself. So before you run toward the next opportunity, before you answer every insult, before you chase every invitation, before you abandon your assignment to involve yourself in matters that were never yours to carry, stop, be still, discern carefully, because not every movement is progress. Sometimes the wisest thing a human being can do is remain planted until clarity arrives. Do not let envy move you. Do not let loneliness move you. Do not let fear move you. Do not let pride move you. And above all, do not abandon your purpose trying to manage everybody else's life. The world is full of people collapsing under burdens they were never meant to carry. Mind your own soul. Mind your own calling. Mind your own growth. Mind your own obedience. For in the end, every person must answer for the garden they were assigned to tend. And one final warning before you leave this place tonight. When you begin walking in wisdom, some people will become uncomfortable with your silence. They benefited from your confusion. They profited from your reactions. They enjoyed your instability. But now you see clearly. Now you understand. Not every voice deserves access. Not every hand deserves trust. Not every path deserves pursuit. So if the spirit within you feels uneasy, if peace disappears, if confusion suddenly increases, if pressure demands immediate movement, do not move yet. A trap may be laid for you. Stand still long enough to hear the truth. And when the noise finally fades, when fear loses its grip, when clarity returns like morning light after a violent storm, then walk forward with wisdom, quietly, carefully, purposefully. And let the distracted world wonder why you refuse to fall. Not every opportunity is a blessing. That truth alone has saved many lives that could have easily been destroyed by excitement, pride, desperation, or impatience. Human beings are often drawn toward what shines quickly. They assume that anything that arrives suddenly with ease must surely be favor, destiny, or reward. But appearance has always been one of the oldest disguises used by destruction. The brightest bait often hides the sharpest hook. Many people have ruined their peace because they mistook access for approval. They believed that because a door opened, it must have been meant for them. Yet there are doors that open only to test restraint. There are invitations that arrive not to elevate a person, but to expose the weakness hidden inside them. Some opportunities are nothing more than distractions wearing elegant clothing. They come wrapped in praise, urgency, and temporary excitement while quietly carrying consequences that remain invisible until it is too late. A starving man is more vulnerable to poisoned bread than a full man. In the same way, a soul starving for validation becomes vulnerable to dangerous opportunities. The enemy understands human hunger. He studies loneliness. He watches ambition carefully. He observes the tired businessman, the wounded woman, the insecure leader, the frustrated dreamer, and then he sends opportunities designed specifically for their emotional weakness. What appears beneficial at first often arrives carrying hidden chains. There are people who accepted positions that paid more money but destroyed their families. There are people who entered relationships that looked beautiful but slowly poisoned their spirit. There are people who chased recognition only to discover they had sacrificed their peace for applause from strangers who never truly cared about them. Everything that glitters does not contain light. Some things only reflect enough brightness to attract the unsuspecting. The dangerous thing about traps is that they rarely look dangerous in the beginning. No hunter places visible danger before the prey. The trap must appear safe. It must appear attractive. It must appear rewarding. That is why discernment matters more than excitement. Excitement only sees what is immediately desirable. Discernment sees what will eventually be costly. Some opportunities arrive with pressure attached to them. They demand immediate decisions. They create fear of missing out. They whisper into the mind, "If you do not move now, you may lose everything." But wisdom does not panic under pressure. Wisdom understands that what is truly meant for a person does not require manipulation to obtain it. Rushed decisions often become lifelong regrets. Many people are suffering today because they moved too quickly when they should have waited quietly. There is also a deep danger in opportunities that feed the ego more than the soul. Pride blinds people. Once a person becomes addicted to feeling important, they begin accepting anything that increases their image, even if it slowly destroys their integrity. Some opportunities do not come to bless a person. They come to inflate the ego until judgment collapses. Power without character becomes corruption. Influence without wisdom becomes destruction. A person must learn to ask difficult questions before stepping through certain doors. What is this opportunity costing me internally? What kind of person will I become if I continue down this road? Is this feeding peace or feeding pride? Does this strengthen my purpose or distract me from it? Many people only examine rewards while ignoring consequences. They count the benefits but overlook the burden attached to them. There are opportunities that separate people from their values little by little. Rarely does destruction happen in one dramatic moment. It often happens gradually. A small compromise here, a small lie there, a neglected responsibility, a corrupted motive. Over time, the soul becomes unfamiliar with its own reflection. Some people gain success externally while becoming strangers to themselves internally. They climbed ladders only to discover they leaned against the wrong wall. Not every opportunity deserves pursuit simply because others admire it. Society often celebrates visible achievement while ignoring invisible damage. A person may appear successful publicly while privately living in emotional exhaustion, spiritual emptiness, and constant fear. Crowds are often impressed by things heaven never approved. Public applause cannot replace inner peace. There are seasons when refusing an opportunity requires more courage than accepting one. Walking away from something attractive can feel painful, especially when others cannot understand the decision. People may call it foolishness. They may accuse a person of wasting potential. But sometimes preservation looks like missed opportunity to those who lack discernment. A wise person understands that protection does not always feel pleasant in the moment. Silence can become a shield during these moments. Not every opportunity deserves immediate discussion with everyone around you. Some people encourage dangerous decisions because they are entertained by watching others fall. Others project their own ambitions onto people without understanding the hidden cost attached to certain paths. The voices surrounding a person can either sharpen wisdom or weaken it. That is why discernment must become stronger than external pressure. There are traps specifically designed for gifted people. The more potential a person carries, the more carefully distractions are prepared against them. Some distractions are not evil in appearance. In fact, many are good things accepted at the wrong time. Timing matters deeply. A blessing received outside its proper season can still produce damage. Even good opportunities become dangerous when they pull a person away from their assignment. Patience protects people from counterfeit doors. Time reveals motives. Time exposes hidden intentions. What appears urgent today often reveals its emptiness tomorrow, but impatient souls rarely wait long enough to discover truth. They move because they fear delay more than deception. Yet delay has rescued many people from disasters they never saw coming. The human heart must become disciplined enough to value peace over excitement. Peace is often quiet. It does not scream for attention. It does not manipulate emotions. It does not create confusion and chaos. Dangerous opportunities often arrive carrying noise, pressure, emotional instability, and restless urgency. A wise spirit learns to recognize these signs early. Some opportunities are blessings. Others are beautifully wrapped distractions, prepared to steal focus, integrity, peace, and purpose from those unwilling to discern carefully. Distraction is one of the most subtle forms of destruction because it rarely announces itself as danger. It does not arrive carrying weapons or speaking with obvious threats. Instead, it enters quietly, wearing the appearance of entertainment, urgency, curiosity, ambition, or even harmless pleasure. Most people never realize how much of their lives have been stolen by distraction until years have already disappeared. Time is one of the few things in life that cannot be recovered once it has been spent, and distraction feeds upon human attention like a silent parasite. The human mind was never designed to carry endless noise, yet modern life surrounds people with constant interruption. Voices compete for attention every hour. Screens flash endlessly. Opinions multiply without rest. Every moment something demands emotional reaction. The soul becomes crowded, exhausted, and unfocused. In such an environment, clarity becomes rare. A distracted person may still appear busy, but activity and purpose are not the same thing. Many individuals move constantly while accomplishing very little internally. Distraction weakens spiritual clarity because it slowly disconnects people from stillness. A person who cannot sit quietly with their thoughts becomes vulnerable to confusion. Silence reveals truth, but distraction drowns it. That is why many people avoid quiet moments. When noise stops, reality begins speaking. Hidden fears surface. Convictions become unavoidable. The condition of the soul becomes visible. Distraction allows people to temporarily escape themselves, but escape never produces healing. There are distractions designed specifically for every personality. Some are distracted by pleasure, others by conflict, some by endless ambition, others by comparison. The enemy rarely uses the same method on everyone because human weaknesses differ. A lonely person may become distracted by unhealthy relationships. An insecure person may become distracted by validation. An ambitious person may become distracted by power and recognition. A wounded person may become distracted by bitterness and revenge. Whatever controls a person's attention eventually begins shaping their life. One of the greatest dangers of distraction is that it often feels productive in the beginning. People convince themselves they are gathering information, staying connected, protecting their image, or pursuing success. Meanwhile, their inner life slowly deteriorates. Focus becomes fragmented, peace disappears, discernment weakens. A distracted mind struggles to hear wisdom clearly because too many voices are speaking at once. There are people who spend more time studying the lives of strangers than building their own future. They become consumed by comparison. Comparison is one of the fastest ways to poison gratitude. Once people constantly measure themselves against others, they lose sight of their own assignment. Envy enters quietly. Dissatisfaction grows. Joy begins dying in small, invisible pieces. Instead of nurturing their own gifts, they obsess over someone else's journey. Distraction also destroys discipline. A focused person understands the value of consistency, but distraction trains the mind to crave constant stimulation. People begin abandoning difficult responsibilities for immediate comfort. They struggle to remain committed because distraction constantly offers easier alternatives. Greatness requires sustained attention, but distraction weakens endurance. Many dreams die not because people lack talent, but because they lacked focus long enough to develop it. The modern world profits from distracted people. A distracted population is easier to influence, easier to manipulate, and easier to control emotionally. People who cannot focus deeply often react impulsively. They become driven by headlines, trends, emotional outrage, and temporary excitement rather than wisdom. Discernment requires reflection, but distraction keeps the mind in a permanent state of reaction. Spiritual clarity suffers greatly in distracted environments because truth often speaks quietly. Wisdom does not usually shout over chaos. Conviction comes gently. Understanding unfolds slowly. But distracted people rush through life too quickly to notice these things. Their attention is scattered across endless concerns. Their minds are filled with noise from morning until night. Under such conditions, even obvious warnings become difficult to recognize. There are moments when distraction becomes a form of avoidance. Some people stay constantly busy because they fear confronting unresolved pain. They fill every hour with activity to avoid grief, guilt, loneliness, or disappointment. But suppressed wounds do not disappear through distraction. They remain hidden beneath the surface, influencing decisions, relationships, and emotional stability. Healing requires honesty, but distraction delays honesty. Attention is one of the most valuable resources a human being possesses. Whatever receives consistent attention eventually grows stronger. Fear grows through attention. Bitterness grows through attention. Temptation grows through attention, but wisdom also grows through attention. Discipline grows through attention. Peace grows through attention. The direction of a person's focus quietly determines the direction of their life. There is a reason deeply focused individuals often appear calm. Focus simplifies life. It removes unnecessary noise. It teaches the mind to separate what matters from what merely competes for attention. Distracted people exhaust themselves chasing everything at once. Focused people understand the power of selective attention. Not every problem deserves emotional energy. Not every conversation deserves participation. Not every trend deserves interest. The soul requires boundaries to remain healthy. Without boundaries, distraction invades every part of life. Endless entertainment numbs thoughtfulness. Constant comparison destroys contentment. Continuous noise weakens discernment. People lose the ability to think deeply because shallow stimulation dominates their attention span. They consume information endlessly without gaining wisdom. Distraction also damages relationships. Many people are physically present but mentally absent. Their attention is divided constantly. Genuine connection requires presence, but distraction steals presence from human interaction. People begin listening without hearing, speaking without understanding, existing without truly engaging. Emotional intimacy weakens where distraction dominates. A distracted person becomes vulnerable to spiritual drift. Rarely does someone abandon purpose intentionally in one dramatic moment. More often, they drift gradually through accumulated distractions, small compromises, repeated neglect, endless postponement. Over time, important things lose priority. Purpose becomes buried beneath temporary concerns. The soul becomes spiritually exhausted without fully understanding why. Clarity often returns when distraction is removed. Solitude sharpens awareness. Silence restores perspective. Stillness exposes what truly matters. Focus allows wisdom to breathe again. The mind becomes less crowded. Discernment grows stronger. People begin recognizing how many unnecessary burdens once consumed their attention. What once felt urgent suddenly appears meaningless when viewed through the lens of wisdom. A distracted soul struggles to hear truth clearly because noise has become its normal condition. And where noise rules constantly, purpose slowly fades into the background, while confusion quietly takes its place. There are people who wake up every morning already carrying invisible wars inside them. Their minds are crowded with anger, disappointment, fear, humiliation, and unresolved pain. They move through life reacting to everything because peace has quietly disappeared from within them. A wounded spirit reacts quickly. A disciplined spirit observes carefully before moving. That difference alone determines the direction of many lives. The greatest battles are often not external, they are internal. A man may conquer rooms full of people while still remaining powerless over his own emotions. He may command respect publicly, yet collapse privately whenever anger rises or fear enters his thoughts. Emotional instability does not always look dramatic. Sometimes it appears as constant defensiveness, endless overthinking, impulsive decisions, or the inability to remain calm when challenged. The enemy understands that emotionally controlled people are easier to redirect. If he cannot destroy a person immediately, he will attempt to provoke them into destroying themselves. He whispers into wounded pride. He stirs insecurity. He magnifies offense. he feeds suspicion. Then he waits patiently for reaction. Many traps succeed not because they are powerful, but because people respond emotionally before thinking wisely. A person who reacts too quickly often sees only fragments of reality. Emotions narrow vision. Anger focuses only on insult. Fear focuses only on danger. Jealousy focuses only on what others possess. Shame focuses only on personal failure. Under emotional pressure, truth becomes distorted. That is why people later regret decisions they once felt absolutely certain about. In the heat of the moment, there are arguments that never needed to happen, relationships that never needed to end, opportunities that never needed to be destroyed. But emotions took control before wisdom had time to speak. One uncontrolled sentence can wound someone for years. One impulsive reaction can permanently alter trust. Many lives carry scars created during moments where emotion outran discernment. The dangerous thing about emotional reactions is that they often feel justified. Anger convinces people they are defending dignity. Fear convinces people they are protecting themselves. Pride convinces people they are standing strong. But not everything that feels powerful is wise. A person can win an argument and still lose peace. They can defend their pride while damaging their purpose. There are people who intentionally provoke emotional reactions because they know emotional individuals become easier to manipulate. Some people thrive on chaos. They study weaknesses carefully. They know exactly which words trigger insecurity, which accusations ignite anger, and which situations awaken fear. Once they gain emotional control over someone, they gain influence over their decisions. That is why silence becomes a form of strength. Silence is not always weakness or surrender. Sometimes silence is wisdom, refusing to participate in destruction. Some individuals become uncomfortable around calm people because calmness removes their ability to manipulate. Chaos loses power when it cannot provoke reaction. Many emotional battles begin long before visible conflict appears. A person may carry resentment silently for months until one small disagreement suddenly explodes into something far greater. Often, the reaction is not truly about the present moment. It is connected to accumulated wounds buried deep beneath the surface. Unhealed pain turns ordinary situations into emotional battlefields. Fear creates some of the most dangerous reactions in human life. Fear convinces people to abandon patience. It pushes them toward desperate choices. Frightened individuals often seek immediate relief instead of long-term wisdom. Some betray values because fear whispers that survival matters more than integrity. Others sabotage relationships because fear of rejection becomes stronger than trust. Loneliness also creates emotional vulnerability. A lonely soul may cling to unhealthy relationships simply because silence feels unbearable. Emotional desperation blinds discernment. People begin accepting treatment they once would have rejected because emptiness weakens standards. The need to feel wanted becomes greater than the desire for peace. Offense is another emotional prison that traps countless lives. Some people carry offenses for years, replaying painful memories repeatedly until bitterness becomes part of their identity. Offense consumes emotional energy slowly but relentlessly. It steals joy, distorts perception, and hardens the heart. Many individuals are emotionally exhausted, not because of present struggles, but because they refuse to release past wounds. Pride intensifies emotional reactions because pride hates humiliation. A prideful person feels threatened by correction, disagreement, or misunderstanding. They react aggressively because ego interprets discomfort as attack. Pride creates unnecessary wars. It demands explanation where silence would have been wiser. It seeks revenge where forgiveness would have brought freedom. There is tremendous power in emotional restraint. Restraint allows a person to pause before speaking. It creates space between feeling and action. In that space, wisdom has room to breathe. Calm people are difficult to control because they do not surrender authority over themselves easily. They listen carefully. They observe deeply. They recognize that temporary emotion should not govern permanent decisions. The world often celebrates emotional intensity while neglecting emotional discipline. Loud reactions receive attention. Outrage spreads rapidly. Public conflict becomes entertainment. People are encouraged to express every feeling immediately without reflection. But maturity understands that not every emotion deserves expression. Some emotions require examination before action. A person who lacks emotional control becomes vulnerable to cycles of destruction. One emotional reaction leads to consequences. Those consequences create more pain. That pain creates more emotional instability. Eventually, chaos becomes normal. Peace feels unfamiliar because the soul has grown addicted to reaction. Wisdom teaches patience during emotional storms. It understands that feelings change, but consequences remain. It reminds the soul that clarity often returns after emotion settles. Decisions made during anger, panic, jealousy, or humiliation usually carry unnecessary damage. Time reveals truths hidden by emotional intensity. Calmness is not the absence of emotion. It is the mastery of emotion. It is the ability to remain steady while storms rage internally and externally. Such people become difficult to deceive because emotions no longer control their perception completely. They recognize manipulation faster. They avoid unnecessary conflict more easily. They preserve peace because they understand how expensive emotional chaos truly becomes